Alright guys, here what I want to show is, this is just an example of some of the things that we do for our AR assemblies that you don't get lots of places. Barrel to upper area. Everybody knows that any barrel for an AR pretty much is made to work with any upper. They're like Legos. But sometimes you will get an upper barrel combination that gives you some play. Sometimes with no barrel nut or anything on, they're tight already. And sometimes you get one like this that's got some play. I've seen them way worse than this. That's unacceptable. You put your barrel nut on and it tightens it up and it alleviates the problem, but it's not perfect. You're reliant on the forces going laterally to keep this barrel in line vertically and horizontally there. You know, all 360 degrees of movement in this plane. So what we do is we bed this area and turn it down in the lathe so it fits perfectly into the upper that it's matched with. Another thing that really helps with is if you ever have to remove this barrel for anything, if it's loose like this, or worse, whenever you go and put that barrel back in, it can change a lot of things because there's no guarantee that barrel is fitting back and cinching up in the exact same spot. When we bed them, you get repeatability. The epoxy that we use for bedding these barrels is an aerospace epoxy. And it is some expensive and some really good stuff. This is not your Walmart special stuff. There is a little method to the madness in this method of putting it on here to keep air bubbles out. It's all in the little twirl you see develop. And this surface has been prepped in a particular way to facilitate the adhesion of the bedding material. And be careful not to leave any sharp stringers on that, because once this stuff is cured, it will absolutely skewer you. It's so hard. Now we're going to put it in the oven. Here's our barrel that we're in the process of bedding. Just came out of the oven. Well, I let it cool down some. But you can see our bedding compound there. It's actually smoothed up really nicely. And we don't have too many ridges or anything like that. So what we'll do now is this will go and get chucked up in the lathe, and this will get turned down to where we're running. I haven't determined yet what our slip fit will be, but it's going to be a very tight tolerance on the slip fit for that particular upper. And this is stuff that we do for every one of our ARs that we build. Now let me be clear here, not every AR needs this to be done. Not every combination needs this. But if it is called for, if it needs it, we do it. We do a lot more things to do that extra mile. This is a few feet in a mile, but it's extra and it makes the gun better, so we do it. And here we go, we've got the barrel chucked up here. Any of you guys that are a little bit more machinery savvy will notice that I have this in a 3-jaw chuck, a scroll chuck, and ideally you'll have it in a 4-jaw independent so you can center it and zero it perfectly. If I've got the 3-jaw chuck in there, I'll always take it and at least see how well it chucks up. This one I've got 1.5 thou run out. And that's just fine for what we're doing here. We're not going to be loading it very hard because this stuff, it doesn't take much to cut. I've got a protective sheath over it here, which this can throw it off a little bit. Within the tolerances that we're looking for, this is okay. We can have just a little bit of play on the chuck out because it's going to have some play. What we're looking for is repeatability when it goes into the gun, and we're not going to have any slop once it goes into the gun, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. So if we were out of round just a hair here, that's okay. As long as we have repeatability whenever it goes into that gun and it is solid, that's okay if we're out a thou or two or something like that of round here, because it's not going to matter. It's still within the acceptable limits of what the gun calls for anyways. So all that being said, let's see what we can do here about a cleanup cut. We'll get our lube out of the way. Might have to change a few things. Always a good idea to check everything out first. And I like to come in here and set my zeros. I do not pass marks on my digital readouts. That way I know I won't go past that, because I don't want to get into that 12 o'clock locating lug there. No sirree. Come in here and I'll set my zero about where I'll touch off on there, and let's spin it. Well, I'm going to set it to the 0 where I thought I might touch, and we'll run it on down and see if we touch anywhere. Yep, we're touching in a few places. I'll move us over here where we can see a little better. We can go kind of fast on this. I want to get to where I've got good, freshly cut material all the way across. That's not going to do it. We'll go for 12. Nope. We'll go for 15 thou in. That's almost got us. We'll hit 20 and go back. Almost. 23. Do 25, and that should be good. .26 coming back as a cleanup pass. And what I'm counting, that number is how many thousandths in from where I set that 0 I said I thought I'd touch off at. I'm just going in here making sure we're cleaned up. Now we'll turn it off and take a look at what we've got. Okay, you can see this part here, that's what's not been, that's a low spot. And that's fine. We're in good shape here. I can clean all that up by hand. You can see I got maybe another thou I can go in before I hit that lug. So what we'll do now is I'll get my calipers, I'll measure this, we'll measure the inside of the upper, and we'll machine it to fit. Alright. What we've got here is basically 1.020. You guys keeping score? And what we're running with on our upper is basically 1 inch, 1 even. We can hold it up here and see it doesn't fit on there. So we're dealing with about 20 thousandths difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial 5 off on my indicator here, because we're dealing with radiuses here, so it doubles, and see where that brings us in at. 0 out. Come in 5. And I'm also going to go about a thou past what I set as my 0. There we go. Now we'll go back at the same setting. Usually you wouldn't backtrack like this, but since we're cutting in this epoxy substance, we'll do it just as a smooth up pass. Alright, first things first, let's just see how it fits. It does not. That's what we want. We don't want it to fit yet. Let's see where we're at with it. Anytime you use calipers and you go to measure, no matter what, even if you just set the calipers down and you pick them back up, if they left your hand, zero out. Wipe off your jaws, zero out. $1,005. So I'm going to dial 2 more out and see where that gets us. There's 1. There's 2. That was 2.5. I need 2. 1, 1.5, 2. Okay. Now what you're going to start seeing there is some black showing through as we get down to where we're cutting some of our bedding material completely off of the substrate, and that is perfectly acceptable. And what we may see is evidence that it is out of round slightly by having a lot of black in one area. Like on one side, you'll see more black than the other, and that's where it's lopsided just a little bit. Yeah, you see that. That right there is actually a high spot as it spins around compared to this. And again, that's fine for our purposes here. Now that would fit if I were to persuade it. But that's not what I want. We want a couple thou difference. Now I'm going to measure it from there to here. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is loosen this. And I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to grab my dial indicator here. We're going to see where we stand with it like that. I'm spinning it because I want to minimize the out of roundness as much as possible, and these are unconventional machining techniques. Believe you me, anyone that is a machinist, take this all with a grain of salt. I'm not teaching a course here. Do as I say, not as I do type stuff. See, now we're running, that's what, 7-8 thou run out there on it. So, let me get this all dialed in where we got just a thou or 2 run out, and I'll be right back. And there we go, we got a thou and a half run out on it, which is fine for what we're doing here. It's fine for a lot of things, actually. So what I'll do is come in here and rotate us around. We'll call that touched off. Set it at 0, and we'll run it. I'm going to back off 2,000. Alright, come in 1. All I want to do is cut just a little bit here. And again, guys, this is my methodology with this. It's something that I have found works very well for us with what we're doing. I just figured I'd show you guys a little insight into the way that I do things here for these purposes. same thing with the measurement. 107. Take our upper, hold it up there. Alright, we're about the same place, we've just cleaned it up. So now, I'm going to run in 1.5 thou, and maybe that'll give us exactly what we're looking for. I'm not even going to bother measuring now. We're just going to test fit. That'll work, but it's going to be too tight. I'm going to dial another 1.5 thou. Go. About 1/2. I barely touched off on the metal. And that's why I turned it, because if I would have continued going in once I had got down to the black, I would have machined on some metal. And if at all possible, if you can keep all your substrate there, it's advisable. So we're going to slide in just perfectly there. That's exactly what we want. We'll grease it. And now we've got a perfectly fitting barrel for this upper. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless. I really appreciate everybody and all the good things that you all have allowed us to do. And please give us a chance to earn your business. We look forward to hearing from you. TDCtactical.com. Alright, we're just going to test fit this with regular old barrel nut from Free Float setup. Don't have the rail yet. Actually, this rail that's over here is going to be the one that goes on it once my suppressor comes in, because the suppressor will be underneath here. I got a different one that's going to go on this 545 upper. So for now, this is what we've got, and that's it. So I'm using, this is some Lucas gun oil. I use it kind of like assembly, like an engine assembly lube. I like it pretty well for that. I'm not real impressed with it just as a gun lube. It's not bad, but it's not something that I would use over Rand. Lube everything up. Didn't realize that I had it all over me. It's alright though. This barrel is coated with our, it's a ceramic coating that we offer that is designed to help wick heat away. So we get it lined up here. And if you can get it in by hand, you're much better off, because, oh, that hurt, it pinched me. Holy shnikes. There we go. That hurt. I don't even remember what I was saying, it hurt so bad. So, a little bit of oil here. oil inside of our barrel nut. I am not going to torque this to spec right now. Before I do that, let me show you. Look at that. Solid as can be. No shake. That's what we're looking for. That's why we did it. That's why we do that. So, there's that. And, you know, in actuality, the way these are, that right there, hand tight, that's all you need. With this setup, I've been toying with the thought of possibly doing a quick change barrel system with a handguard and everything entered in there, because this will allow it. The thing that I may have to do is actually make this a weld repair rather than epoxy, because the epoxy over a period of time, changing in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, swapping between possible barrels or something, I don't know how well the epoxy would like that. Whereas a weld repair will be just fine. So if I can't get my barrel extensions properly machined to my specs, that's not something I'm going to machine out. I'll have to weld them up and then turn them back down. So either way, little insight there, some things I'm thinking. Appreciate it, guys. Please give us a chance to get your business, and we'll do our best to make you happy.